Hi, I'm the Recruiting Maven and welcome back to my channel. Today's topic of conversation is employment contracts and what you need to know. With that said, I just want to say a quick thank you for those of you who like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I deeply appreciate your kind support. For those of you who are new to my channel, I have an ever-growing playlist with career tips and advice, so make sure you check that out. And for those of you who have not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and when you do, hit that notification bell. So diving into today's topic, we are going to be covering three main items. And if you stick around until the end, I will include a bonus tip on what not to do on your first day at work. Now, with that said, if you are a contractor or a temp person or perhaps a permanent employee, which is my favorite designation, if you reside in the United States, there's only 8 states that actually have at-will contracts, and that means that there is no such thing as a permanent employee, so make sure you're aware of that and make sure that you understand that you are a regular employee, not a permanent employee. So the first tip, and it may sound very obvious, but let me just tell you, most of you don't do this. I get enough phone calls and enough complaints and enough sort of hair-raising conversations that I did not know what was included in my contract. I did not know, or I didn't understand. And my question to a lot of people is, did you read your contract? Now, I had someone recently DM me and we had a long discussion about this, and they were pretty upset because what you don't know can come back to haunt you. And so understanding what those contracts mean, what they're saying, what there may be some nuances, if you don't understand, that is the time to reach out to HR or your recruiter for more clarification, because that is the time to ask those questions, not after the fact that you've signed it and you find yourself thinking, I'm not sure what I signed, and I may or may not be in agreement with what I signed. And that's really not a place that you want to be. Now, I know if you're outside of the US, it's a different type of a blend for what happens in the US in terms of HR laws. What I know is specifically in the EAU that there's a lot more conversations, there's a lot more contractual negotiations and dialogue going on. So unfortunately, I'm not as aware in terms of anyone outside of the US and what those specific parameters are, but would love to get your thoughts on that. And any comments that you want to contribute to the channel would be greatly appreciated. For those of you who do live in an at-will state, again, there are 8 of them in the United States. That means that they can lay you off at any time, and the language will state clearly at will. I know some companies have started to change that, so be on the lookout for that type of language. And I haven't read every single language that is included in every single contract for every company. So again, I would love to get some of your thoughts and opinions on that and what you have experienced yourself. Now, I do have a video that I actually went really in depth with regards to contracts versus permanent employment. So I will go ahead and link here at the top right of my screen so you can watch that if you're interested in knowing more details about that. So the second item we're going to be covering is that COVID policy. Now, my concern with this item is that when was it updated by that company? Larger companies have, well, shall we say, a challenge in pivoting quickly with the changes. And so a lot of times when there's anything in terms of the contracts that you need to sign to be onboarded, right, your recruiter sends you that long list of forms that you have to fill out. And, you know, it's overwhelming, and so you're just signing away. But I want you to be comfortable with this form because so many changes. There's been so much dialogue about, you know, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what state do you live in, what is okay, what is not okay. So I want to highlight 3 items in that contract, and then I want you to also ask, if you're not comfortable with any of these items or maybe one of the items, to certainly ask your recruiter or your HR representative, what does it mean? You know, ask more, tell me more about this because I don't understand, or I want to find clarity in this one item that you're bringing up to that person's attention. Now, the first item in that contract or in that form is the protective gear. Now, for those of you who are in the scientific field, you know that's going to be, you're already probably wearing some kind of protective equipment anyway. But for those of us who are not, a company may require you to wear a mask. Now, I particularly have allergies, and it can be challenging sometimes to wear a mask. So if you have some underlying health issues, please make sure you understand what is going to be asked of you and that you're okay with it, and that if you need some adjustments to that policy, can that company accommodate your underlying health issue with regards to that protective equipment. So the second item I want to highlight is that they're going to ask you a lot about how you're feeling. Some of them may want to take your temperature if you're going to be on site and so forth. So again, reading some of these items that are included in this policy is really, really important in knowing what your comfort level is. The third item is reporting exposure, and then having essentially to understand where's that resource center for you to then be able to contact them and let them know appropriately. What is the protocol? Do you call your manager, your manager's manager? You know, what is the chain of command? What is the actual policy in regards to that notification? So just be aware that either you have that information, you write it down as you're signing this form, and or ask your recruiter for that information as well, so that you have that handy in case you do need to notify someone. So tip number 3 is about privacy and data collection. Yep, it's in there. I found it a little bit shocking, to be honest with you, because, you know, with ID theft and so much going on in the world, I actually had to come to terms with it, because there were certain things that I was sitting on the fence about. I didn't know how I felt about it. So I want to highlight these items to you that I found a little bit uncomfortable for me, to be honest with you. So there's also a section on social media data collection. I was like, what? I don't know if I'm comfortable with this, but let's be honest. If you're putting yourself out there on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you are, no matter wherever you are, even on job boards, you know, that information is now public. So what you're saying to them is it's okay for you to view that information and review that information, and have to be very careful what you're putting out there. I did a video on can you actually get fired because of a meme. I'll post that video up here. And what I found out when researching that particular video was actually quite shocking, so make sure you check that out. If make sure you're cleaning up some of your postings too, if that's necessary, because that is public information at the end of the day. So make sure that yeah, clean those social media postings up, okay? All right, and for those of you who are still here until the end, my biggest tip on your first day. Now, this may sound a little bit shocking because it's more of on a personal level, and this is actually a true experience that I had with a candidate of mine, and I won't name names, but this person took a job at a major social media company. And I was actually on the phone with that person as they experienced their first day at work. They were heading into the lunchroom. Apparently there was a conversation that was a little bit saucy, shall we say. Yeah, there was a lot of cursing that was going on. And the person on the phone said, hey, you know, I just want to check in with you because here's the situation. I'm new, these people seem to be very sociable. They seem to be kind of like my kind of crowd, and they're very at ease, and I just really like them. But my question to you is, they're cursing and they seem really cool. What do you think? And I said, yeah, no, do not curse on your first day. I think your first probably 3 months should be one of proceed with caution. Be mindful of what you're saying and to whom you're saying it to. And I'm not talking about necessarily your boss, although of course, be mindful of what you're saying to your boss at all times, not just in the first 90 days. Because, you know, it's sort of like when you first meet someone, first impressions are everything. And I would say it's better to be more professional than less professional. It's sort of like showing up to a barbecue wearing an awesome Chanel outfit as opposed to showing up to a black tie wearing your sneakers and some jeans, right? You can always wear a Chanel outfit to a barbecue, but you can't do the reverse, right? So just set the tone for who you want to be within those first 3 months. After that, I would say relax, be more of yourself, be more open, and then you know who the players are. You know, you can't always be open and honest with everybody. Let's just put that out there, because that's just the way it is. That's real life. And so, you know, who you're going to end up having as a confidant, if you actually have somebody that you can confide with at work, that's great. And if you can't, now you know what you can and cannot say and what you should and should not say. Being professional is about being courteous and kind to other people's feelings. So my biggest tip is to always proceed with the highest level of professionalism and kindness to everyone. With that said, on this platform, we have an ongoing conversation about the fourth industrial revolution and what that's going to mean to you and your job over the long and short term. So please make sure you're checking out some of those videos. If you do need to pivot, if you find yourself that, you know, you're getting noticed because maybe an AI is taking over a good portion of your job, I would say start training. Start looking at some of the videos. It's better to be informed than not be informed. I created this channel specifically because these conversations weren't being had. I couldn't find anything in the media or on any articles that were just very down to earth for people who are not techie, for people who just needed someone to boil it down to the ridiculous and help you to understand what are these challenges, what are the changes, and how's that going to affect you and your job over the short and the long term. So with that said, I just want to say again, thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. I deeply appreciate your kind support, and I will see you in my next video. Take care and have a lovely rest of your day.